Hey everyone, this is Samarth. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will add the functionality of creating a new note and updating a previous note in our note app. So let's start with this video. So first of all, we need to create two functions. One is to create the note and the second is to update the note. And for that, open your note repo interface. And here we have to declare that functions. The first one is suspend function create note. And here we will accept note, which is local note in parameters. And then we will return a result of string. Now just duplicate it, and here we have to update the node. And then let's go to our node repo implementation class, and here we have to implement that functions. Press Ctrl I and select these two functions and then press enter. Now here first of all we have to implement this create node function. First of all we need to open try catch block. Then we need to insert the node in local database. So called node dow.insert node and pass the node here. And then to push the node on the server we need a JWT token for authentication. So get the token as session manager dot get JWT token, and if the token is null then it means user is not logged in, so we will return a success message here that node is saved in local database. And after that, if the token is not null, then we will push the node to the server. So result is equal to node API dot create node, and here we will pass the token which is bearer token, and here we have to pass token. Then we need to pass the node body which is a remote node, so for that we have to create a remote node. Here we need to pass the node title which is node dot title, and then we need to pass description which is node dot description, and then date is equals to node dot date, and then the node id is node dot node id. And here is a little correction in this remote node. This node id should not be node id, it should be a simple id, because I checked my server side, there I have written id not node id. So if we will pass node id here, then it will give us error and the request will fail. So basically it is whatever you have written on your server side. Now let's come back to our node repo implementation class. Now here if the result is successful, then we need to return a success message, node saved successfully. And also we have to update the node in local database, which is we have to update the connected variable of the node. To do that we have to call node dow.insert node, and here we have to pass this node and call dot also, and here we have to call it dot connected is equals to true. Now here we are calling insert node because we have set the conflict strategy to replace, because whenever we will insert a node having node id which is already present in the database, then it will just replace that node with a new node. So it will replace the node with a node having connected variable is equal to true. Now if the result is not successful, then we have to return an error message here, and then in catch block we have to first print this track trace, and then we have to return error message e.message, or if it is null then some problem occurred. Now to return all this we need to write a return before this try block. Now let's create the update node function. This update node function is also similar to create node function, so let's copy this function and paste it here. So first of all we will update the node in local database, as I have said, because of the replace conflict strategy. It will just update the previous node with the new node, and then if the token is not null, then we will call update node function, and then this update node function will update the node on the server side. And then we have to update these messages that node is updated, and here we have to write node updated successfully. And that's all for this function. Now let's create a view model in our nodes package. So in this nodes package we have to create a new Kotlin class which is node view model. It is extended from view model. Here we have to write hilt view model, and then we have to inject some dependencies in constructor. Import this inject, and here we need node repo, and here we need to create the function which is create node, and it will accept two parameters which are note title, which is of type string and it is a nullable, and description of the note, it is also nullable string. And then we have to create local note, so local note is equals to local note. Here we have to pass note title and then description, and then all the variables having default values. And after this we have to call the create function of note repo, so call this create note, and here we have to pass this local note. And it is giving us error because it is a suspend function, so we have to call in coroutine block. So here we will start the view model scope dot launch, and we will call this function in dispatchers.io, and that's all for this create node function. Now let's create a function for updating the node, and for updating the node we need one more variable which is old node. It is of type local node and it is a nullable, then it is equals to null. Change this var to var. Now let's create a function which is update node. It will also accept node title and description, so just copy it and paste here. And then we have to call view model scope dot launch dispatchers.io, and then we need to check if the node title is equals to old node dot node title and description is equals to old node dot description and old node dot connector is equals to true. Then we need to return from here, because if the title of the node is equals to old node and the description is also equals to old node, then it means we haven't updated the node, so we don't need to call anything, and then we will just simply return from here. Now if this is not the case, then we have to call the update node function of node repo, so call node repo dot update, and here we have to pass this node. So for that we have to create the node which is local node, and then here we need to pass node title which is equals to this node title, and then description equals to this description. Now it's your will if you want to update the date of the node, which I will do in this case, but if you don't want to update the date, then you have to just write date is equals to old node dot date. But I want to update the date, so I will not call it here, and it will by default call the system dot current time in milliseconds. Then I need to set node id is equals to old node dot node id, because to update the node we need its node id. Then we will pass this node in the update node function, and that's pretty much it. Now we will go to our new node fragment, and here first of all we need our node view model. So let's go node view model is of type node view model and initialize it by activity view models, and then declare and draw it entry point. After that we need navigation arguments, so args of type new node fragment args, initialize it by nav args. Now we need to create two functions here, which is a private function create node, and here we need node title is equals to binding dot new node id text dot text, and then call to string, then duplicate it and make it description 2, and then we need to call if node title is null or empty, and description is null or empty. Then we need to show a toast required context, and the error message is node is empty, and then we need to return from here. Also we need to call dot trim here and here too, because we can't trust our user. And then we need to call the node view model dot create node, and here we have to pass node title and description. Similarly we have to create one more function which is update node, and now here if the node title and description both are empty, then we don't have to update that node, we have to delete that node from our database and server, because we haven't created our delete function yet. So create a to do delete the node, and then we have to update the node, and that's pretty much it. And now we need to override onPause function, and here we have to call if the note view model dot old note is null, it means we are creating a new note, so we have to create new note, and else we have to update the previous note. Now let's come to onViewCreated function, and here we have to set the note view model dot old note to the args dot note, because while creating the navigation, let me show you in this nav graph, in this new node fragment we have set up an argument which is this note. So we will set this note to old note, and if this argument is null then it will simply assign null to old note and we will create a new note. And now if the old note is not null, then we have to set the title and the description of the note in our fragment. So note view model note old note note title not let, it means if the title is not null then we have to set this title to the edit view, not title edit text, and then here we have to set the text is equals to it. Similarly we have to do this for description. Now in this new node fragment we have one more text view field which is for representing the date of the node created, or we can say the date of the node it is last edited. So this date is only visible if we are updating the new node. So for that call binding date is visible is equals to node view model node old node is not equals to null, and then we have to set the date which is node view model node old node date, and then let binding dot date dot text is equals to, now the date is in milliseconds so we have to convert it from milliseconds to current time. So for that we have to create one more function in this view model. So let's create the function which is milliseconds to date, and it will accept the time which is of type long, and it will return a string which is the current date format, and then we have to call date is equals to date, select this java utils, and then we have to pass time in here, and then we need to create a simple date format which is simple date format, and here I am using this date format, you can use anything you want, and then we have to pass the locale which is locale.getDefault, and then we have to return simple date format, and here we need to pass this date, so it will change this milliseconds to this type of format and return a string. Now we need to call node view model dot milliseconds to date, and here we have to pass this date. So that's all, we have set up everything in this new node fragment. Whenever user will press the back button or because of any reason the app will crash, then we will save that note, so we don't have to take care of saving the note, because the note will be saved automatically whenever this onPause function will be called, and this onPause function will be called by fragment lifecycle, and so we don't have to take care about that. Now let's run our app and let's see if it is working correctly or not. And here our app is opened successfully. So let's create a new node by clicking this fab icon. Let's first click on back button, and here you can see note is empty, and then create a new node which is title and give it a description and thing. Here I found a little bug which is it is writing it in a single line, so I have to fix that, which is not a big problem. We will fix that, and let's press the back button, and here you can see it have did network request. So here we are getting a response which is unauthorized because we are not logged in yet. So let's quickly log into our account, and here you can see we are logged in, and now let's create a note. Press the back button, and then you can see it is returning a response which is 200 OK, and it means our node is created successfully. And here you can see the success message is true and the message is not added successfully. And if you want to check if the node is created in our local database, then go to this app inspect, because right now we haven't implemented the get node functionality, which we will do in next video. Right now we have to check in the node DB, and here in this our local node table, here you can see our 3 nodes are created, and our last node which we have created was successfully posted to the server. So here you can see it is connected. So yeah, that's all for this video. If you like it, then please press the like button, and if you have any doubt, then please write in the comment section. I will reply it for sure. And thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day.